up, what up? My name is Ronnie Ferreira, and I am the captain of Comet Me Bro, the first ever champions of MSS Reindeer Games. You're watching Let Freedom Ring with Dan Bollier, the #1 podcast in Southern New Hampshire. Enjoy!
And welcome to Let Freedom Ring. I hope everybody is surviving yet another snowstorm. It's March 3rd. I've truly had enough of this, and hopefully the snow ends soon. But my guest this week, math teacher, softball player, friend of mine, Sarah Booth. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Hi, Dan. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, excited to have you on. You've been a fan of the show. Like I have to, I really appreciate it because you'll send questions in the fan question section. We love the support, so thank you so much. Super excited for this.
Yeah, and does Ronnie know from the opening that it's not a podcast?
Yes.
He did
So
say
Ronnie,
top podcast.
So Ronnie, when I asked him to make that, I need to come up with some new. We need some new openings. But when I sent that to him back in 23, maybe he intentionally said, and he still does it. He'll never call it he'll just call it, he loves calling it a podcast. We're not a podcast, but maybe we should be. Maybe we should start exploring putting that on the podcast app or however it works, I guess.
I like learning a lot about the different people that you have on, so I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, let's get to know you a little bit. Where'd you grow up? Where are you from?
So I grew up between Ashland and Framingham. I split my time equally between my parents. I went to school at the Ashland High School, Massachusetts high schools.
Okay.
I grew up in Framingham. I spent a lot of time in Framingham, but I went to the Ashland public school system. I live in Manchester now. I just kind of kept moving north every couple years till I ended up here. I really like it. It's close to the sports that I play, but it's a nice city.
Yeah. So how far away is that from Manchester?
It's like an hour. I actually just looked it up because there's a Framingham Bakery Pizza that has been open for like 100 years. It's shutting down. And it was in my neighborhood that I grew up in. So I'm going to take a weekend trip, I think, to go get a piece of pizza. Although they're selling out, the lines are they're lining up at like 7 a.m. every day. So
Are they just retiring or are they?
Yeah, I think it's a family business. They are, the family's not continuing from what I understand. But yeah, it was like a big part of my neighborhood in Framingham.
Oh, very cool. Now, did you initially did you just decide one day, like, I'm going to go live in New Hampshire, or was it one of those, like, you got a job in the area, or how did that happen?
Yeah, I lived in Chelmsford. I worked at Lawrence High School for a couple
Oh,
years.
really?
And
Okay.
I was living in Westboro with my mom, and it was like, a 55-mile commute each way. Like, it was just taking me forever to get there. So I moved to Chelmsford for my second year at Lawrence High. And then I kind of just kept moving north. Not really on purpose, but I was already playing in MSS at that point. So staying in New Hampshire was kind of important to me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Less taxes. There's so many benefits.
Yeah.
To
And
living in.
I really liked, I work in Mass and I teach I work in Mass and I live in New Hampshire. I think it's kind of one of the best of both worlds scenario. But yeah, I do like New Hampshire a lot.
Yeah, no, totally understand that. Like my parents were originally from like the Malden, Revere, Medford area. And in the 80s, a lot of people were moving from Massachusetts to southern New Hampshire. Like if you look at like the numbers of like the growth of Nashua, look at it from like the 1980s into now, it's kind of fascinating. But
Yeah, it is. Well, so like I split my time between Framingham and Ashland. I think just like a funny thing about Ashland, if you don't know, we're the home of the Clockers. So our
Okay.
mascot was like a clock. And it was like the least intimidating mascot you could possibly have. But we were home of the first electric home clock.
Okay.
So they, I guess, felt inspired to name a high school sports the Clockers. Just like they were voted the most unique Massachusetts mascot a couple years ago. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, the Clockers.
Yeah.
I never heard of that before, but I think, yeah, I mean, like, a mascot's just a mascot, right? Like,
It's
I
not
don't know.
terrible. Oh, like our high school rivals were the Hopkinton Hillers, which like
Oh,
also is not a thing. Like it was just
yeah.
like we had this very intense sports rivalry with like neither side having a scary or like strong mascot. So it'd be a lot of like chanting across the gym of like what's a Hiller, and then like across the other side would be like, but what's a Clocker? And like it would just be like a back and forth over like a basketball game of nobody really knows what their mascot means
Uh,
or is.
I do remember games like that of just, the high school fans. Did you play any sports at the high school or?
Yeah, I played softball and field hockey. Those were
Oh,
my two high
okay.
school sports. Yeah.
Nice, nice. Yeah, yeah, field hockey. That growing at all? Like I feel like field hockey is always something that's like, talked about, but I don't know is the sport growing?
Well, I think it's starting younger, just like lacrosse. Like when I grew up, you couldn't start lacrosse until high school, and now like little kids are playing lacrosse. Field hockey, I know, is also starting younger. They have like club teams and town teams. I would have loved to like get into an adult field hockey league. Like that was my sport for sure, but I don't know, I haven't found anything. I tried ball hockey through MSS, and I was like,
Uh,
that
mm,
wasn't for me.
it's a little different. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not big on hockey. I gotta say though about field hockey, when I was in high school, I wanted to write for the school paper, right? And I
Mm.
wanted to do a sports column, and I had a crush on a girl on the field hockey team. So I wrote an article on the field hockey team. It didn't go anywhere. I think I asked her to homecoming. But Nashua had like the all-time like losingest record of field hockey. Like it was, I don't know if
Really?
they've gotten better. Like it was bad. Like they were, I think they made like something on ESPN for like not a good thing. But
That was like my high
yeah.
school football team. I actually looked it up today because I was interested. During like the time that I was in high school, my high school football team went 4-36.
Oh wow.
So they were like pretty terrible. Yeah.
I mean, Massachusetts is hard though. Like I'm surprised. Like I was looking at we were Daisy's daughter was wrestling with the Chelmsford team for a little bit, and I was looking
Mm.
at some of the how people did at states, and I'm like, I don't think anybody from Chelmsford made the all-state tournament, and I was at least from what I see. If anybody sees this and can correct me, I'm like, damn, Massachusetts, yeah, it's tough. It's a tough state,
Mm.
but
Yeah,
what are
it's
three
athletic.
things? Yeah, I mean, and it's bigger than New Hampshire and things like that. But what are three things everybody should know about you?
All right. So I think like number one, my name is Sarah. I go by Boothie a lot. I actually prefer to go by Boothie just because I have a speech impediment, and like the amount of times that I've like explained my name or tried to spell it and it's like come out wrong, it's just
Hmm.
like I'm just gonna go by like a name that doesn't have an O in it, which is like one of the letters that has been like very difficult for me to say. So I mean, you guys can call me whatever, but I tend to prefer to go by Boothie just because it's different and it's easier for me to explain.
Okay,
That's number
I didn't know
one.
that. I didn't know that you prefer that. So that's good to know. It's a good nickname. Is that just something you've always like had, or did someone give you that nickname, or?
Yeah, it's like a sports thing. I mean, growing up, I think coaches a lot of time would just use it and it was easy. Um, my second thing, so I'm autistic. I don't know like how open that is or like how many people know that. I don't speak about it a lot. Not because like I'm ashamed about it, but I there's quite a big stigma around being autistic. I think like people use it as like a joke in a lot of ways and like it used to bother me a lot, and I've learned to just like a lot of people that I hear talking about, like making jokes or like doing it lightheartedly, and I don't take offense to it as much as I used to. But I do think it's important for people to know about me. I think like the biggest thing is like, please don't treat me differently. I think like people can tend to like baby you or, think that you're lesser or like, I guess like my big ask is like, don't treat me differently. I think like I'm kind of unaware if people know that about me or not. I think it's not ever a secret, but I don't really openly talk about it. So I figured this would be a good chance for me to just like
Yeah.
put it out there. I also have like a quick PSA about like women specifically. So like women who are autistic have they mask a lot, which means that they like try and fit in and like adapt to like more pro-social behaviors, and they do it a lot as like a protection thing of like they don't want to be outed or they don't want to feel like it's less common, I think, for women to be diagnosed simply because they don't always show like outwardly those I don't know, symptoms is not the right word, but like um their traits. And so like a lot of times like even like in the medical practice, like being diagnosed as a female is a lot difficult. I actually wasn't diagnosed until I was in college. And it was something that like I sought out for myself. And I think it's important for people to know about me, but also take it as like it's just one thing about me and it's not, the most important thing.
It's not the whole picture, it's part of the
Yeah.
picture. Yeah, absolutely. Now, so in college, did you just decide to say, hey, like I want to follow up on this, or was there anything you need to do for that, or?
Yeah, I like read a couple books and I, kind of saw myself in characters and I just kind of took initiative. You have to get, a diagnosis from like it's like a neurologist, I think. No,
Mm,
that's not the right word. It was like some um specific like therapist provider that kind of talks with you and does it. But yeah, it's kind of made a lot more sense to like I can look back at like previous experiences and say like, oh, that's why like I had that reaction, or that's why I felt that way, or that's why like this situation went the way it did, and like I have a lot more awareness of like who I am
mm.
since just like simply getting the diagnosis.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's good to know that, right? I think there's probably, and people watching this probably, if they're thinking about that, then they should, you know, try to find out too. So,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I love that. What's the third thing?
Third thing, so I love to make people laugh. Like that is like my priority in life. I just like everywhere I go and try and be the funny person. Like I have a lot of fun and like I I like have this goal for myself to like laugh at least once a day. And I just think it's like being able to be around people that make me laugh and also being around people that, think I'm funny is important to me. And it's a it's a nice like thing to be around. Like when you're around joy and you're around happiness, it just like it brings out a whole different person, I think.
I agree. I think, I think everybody should, what's that Van Wilder saying? Shouldn't take life too serious. They'll never get out alive, right?
Yeah.
Like, now, I got to ask this, and I know we're going to talk about the teaching, but, speaking of like the humor and stuff, you're a math teacher, which is not always, I am not someone who enjoyed that subject. I got through it in high school, I got through it in college, did what I had to. Do you incorporate any humor into like teaching?
Oh yeah, like I'm funny all day long. Like the kids, I think like I like to like, be as funny as possible. I think there's kids that respond really well to that, and then there's kids that you have to be a little bit more serious with, and they. Um, but speaking of math, like I was not a math kid growing up. It was not something that like I enjoyed doing. But when you're teaching, 13, 14, 15-year-old kids math, like it makes a lot more sense when I'm 32 than it did when I was 15. So like I was like, this is so hard. And I'm like, yeah, but like you could grow up and like teach math and it could be so easy. And like I try and be real with the kids. Like math was not my thing growing up. I like gave my pre-cal teacher a real hard time about like just like I would not even like buy into the idea of like trying because it was too hard. And like math was not a subject that I, wanted to teach. I was assigned that when I went to work at Lawrence High School. They said
Okay.
like we need a math co-teacher and you need to do it. And I said, okay, great, I'll do it. And that was 10 years ago. And I've stuck with math since, so I really like it.
No, that's cool. I mean, I remember 7th grade being terrified of my math teacher. Terrified. Mrs. Watterson, I'm not sure if she's still alive to this day. And she was a sweet lady at times, but like I messed up, like I was scared, which I think is like, something kids, I do really believe they need that. That's one of those subjects where it's like it's hard for a lot of kids.
Yeah.
So it's good to have someone, having that humor, making it okay to make mistakes because it it can be anxiety ridden
Yeah.
type stuff,
I
you
have a
know?
lot of kids that like, I mean, like on top of like, teaching math, I'm a special ed teacher. So a lot of my kids that I teach have like, other disabilities going on with it. So like not only do they not like math, but they're super anxious or they have ADHD or they like have a reading disability, which makes just like everything on top of math even more difficult. But like we try and have fun. Like the kids like hate/love when I like pick up on their lingo and just like use it in the wrong way. It just like really ticks them off. It's
Yeah.
like one of my favorite things to do. Um, but like I have fun with my coworkers. I laugh with my friends. So try and focus on the fun things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, we have a big question now, and this is the money question at Let Freedom Ring because it
Hmm.
means a lot of things. Living here in the United States, it means a lot of things to a lot of different people. If you go through social media, if you go through the television, you can feel that.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you to be an American?
I think like to me, like the most important part of the Constitution is the "we the people" part, where it's like
Mm,
talking about like the government is run by the people who it serves. And so like part of being an American is like you can share your opinions on things, and like the other part of being American is like you can disagree with what other people share. And like I think that that's like an important thing, especially right now, is like you have the right to like post on social media or like do whatever it is that you would like, and show your opinions. And like people have the right to disagree with you. I think like another part of being an American is like being able to go out and vote if you want to change in your government. Like that is a right that we as Americans have. And I think that it's like an important one to think about was like if you're not happy, like you can vote for representation in your government that's going to like better align with what you want.
yeah, I think that those are big things, and I think we are so. And I think this country's always been divided. But man, it's been wild, like it really
Yeah.
has. And yeah, and then we have the right to vote. And I think a big thing too, like this, not talked about enough, because the presidential election is so mainstream. Let's talk about this. Meanwhile, I feel like a lot of people just ignore what goes on in their state, like the stuff that
Yeah, there's
really
like a
like
big
impacts
like
you. You know.
Texas, like there's like a big Texas Senate, North Carolina Senate happening right now. Like things that like, maybe in the short run don't matter to New Hampshire residents, but like they can matter, down the line of like who is represented in other states. So it's like I haven't always been like super political. I try to like keep off of social media with it, but I do follow like I watch the news more than I have in the past, and I try and like keep up to date with it because I'd rather be informed than, have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, no, and I think that's important. And when I got sober, because I used to really get involved in it, and I think getting involved on it on like with the politics stuff on social media is a giant waste of time. And I said this with Mac
Yeah.
the other time. It's like people writing in paragraphs to each other, trying to dunk on each other. It's like I'd rather have this type of conversation with somebody than arguing with strangers or even my friends in
Right.
written word on Facebook. Like I just think it's so nonsensical and counterproductive, and it's almost like this is how we keep getting here. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and like I haven't like unfriended people on Facebook, but I'll like unfollow them. Like I just don't, if there's people I don't disagree with, like I don't agree with and I don't want to see those stuff all the time, like you can unfollow them and still, stay friends on Facebook. I think that that's a nice feature that I didn't know about until recently.
No, absolutely. And my only thing with like, and I don't really care where people I mean, in some cases, I believe that is a right, a fundamental right to believe what you want in this
Hmm.
country and to vote the way you want. But it's hard to get tolerant of racist comments, homophobic comments, transgender phobia or whatever that I'm forgetting the phrase
Yeah.
of that, but anything that's just like, to me, like people they're living their lives, right?
Yeah.
And everybody's different, and I think that's what makes America great, you know
Yeah. I do
um
think like if it doesn't bother you, like personally, it shouldn't impact you. Like you shouldn't have, these strong feelings against it. I think like if people want to live the way they want to live and like you don't agree with it, like I think that should be okay. Um,
yeah, I don't,
I
and
think,
I think that that's always been an issue, but like now it's like in your face more than it had been.
well, I think it's hard with social media. Is like anyone can go on social media. I think like what I've noticed more and more is that like you can post under like a nickname on Facebook. Like if you're in groups, you don't have to show your real name, and like people
uh
feel a little bit more like
yeah.
they can say things that they might get a lot of backlash if they're putting it under their like public Facebook page.
Yeah,
So I try and stay away from it.
it's so much nonsense. Like and I love social media. Everybody knows that. And I rather just talk about the fun stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if people want to get into, I mean, people are going to vote and do whatever they want. Like I'm not changing anybody's mind. So why would I go into that? And if you want to have a conversation, we can have one like this. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
I think that's fair.
um but no, great answer. Um, Pretty kind of cool too. Like it's going to be the 250th anniversary of the United States coming up,
Yeah.
which is really it. We are a young country, like very young.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting to see how like I mean so much has changed in 250 years and like what will the next 250 years look like? It's a lot to unpack though.
Yeah, fascinating stuff. But I want to talk a little bit more about teaching.
Yeah.
I went to school to be a social studies teacher. I worked in the schools for a while before I changed jobs. But I want to get kind of, how did you decide that you wanted to be a teacher?
I didn't know what I wanted to do until I was like a senior in high school. I like had thrown around the ideas of being like a city planner, wanted to
Oh,
maybe be an architect, like something with like design. And then I had an opportunity to like get some like I was big for community service in high school. I actually got a scholarship for having the most amount of community service hours in my graduating class. So like I was always looking for opportunities to just like give back. And there was like an in-house program at my high school for kids with disabilities. And I had the option to like go there during one of my study halls and just hang out. And that was when I decided like this is definitely what I want to do. And I haven't changed my mind. It's like my dream job, truly. I mean, I wouldn't do anything else. It's
oh, that's
amazing.
awesome. Now,
Yeah.
where'd you go to college?
So I went to Bridgewater State.
Okay.
I got my degree in. Went through. I have a double major. I went through psychology, and I got my degree in severe needs, which treats like the population that's like I think like the way to determine it is if you're like below grade level, like more than 3 grades below grade level. But it was like more of a population of like the nonverbal, doing a lot of augmentative communication devices. Um, that was kind of where I started and what I thought I wanted to do. I did that for a year and I said, like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. And I switched to moderate needs. Um, Moderate needs are like what you'll see in like a typical high school. Kids are typically they're like behind in, 1 or 2 grade levels, or they're like on par with reading but behind in math.
Mm,
We see a lot of like learning disabilities, executive dysfunctioning with like ADHD and other things like that. But you're not getting like I was in a job where, I was doing holds all day, got, bit, I got concussed. Like there was like a lot of physical altercations and I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life.
yeah, that could be very demanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom's been a paraprofessional since 96. So she's done that. She's like more, I would think one-on-one, but not like severe disabilities or anything like that. But, you know, growing up, I had an IEP. Full, so I loved my, like we called them like case managers,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Case
I,
manager.
we had wonderful teachers in Nashua. Um, Now, you said that math was not always your passion. Was there a
Mm-mm.
subject in school that you were most passionate about when you were a student?
I was a terrible student. I will like say that. Like I tell my kids that all the time. I just like I went to school for the sports. I went to school to socialize. I mean, I was like I don't know. I think I had like a 3.0 GPA or something like very
That's
like
pretty
middle
good.
of the road,
Yeah, I mean,
like
that's pretty
not
average.
terrible, but like I
Yeah.
didn't really enjoy it. It's weird that I spend, my adult life in a school. But it's, very different when you get paid to do that versus when you're a high school student and like, you know, there's more things, better things you think you could be doing. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I like the science. I like the hands-on stuff, but I was never like super strong in any subject.
I think that's good, like that teachers weren't like the perfect students. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Because I think especially in your role, I think there's more empathy for that for students that are struggling when they know what that's like. Not saying that teachers that were straight A students aren't like that. I'm saying like I just think that that's kind of a benefit.
Yeah, and I like you can connect with the kids. Like I was you. Like I didn't want to do this. And like you know, most kids that come into high school in ninth grade and like have a really tough like, the difference between eighth grade and ninth grade is like not a whole lot. Like you're going from 13 to 14 maybe, but like it now matters. Like you need credits to earn a high school diploma. You don't need credits in middle school. And like
True.
kids have a hard time like adapting to things like that. And we have quite a few kids that like come into ninth grade and they like don't get promoted to 10th grade and they do ninth grade again. And like I would say like the majority of kids, like it works out in their favor. Like they just need an extra year to mature. But it's also holding them accountable. Like you can't sit around and do nothing and then go to 10th grade and go to 11th grade. Like you have to like do the work and earn your credits so that you can earn your high school diploma.
Yeah, and you need it. I think it's really important, especially whether you go to college or not.
Yeah.
To have that high school diploma. Now, were there any teachers that you had that kind of, because you said you kind of explained why you wanted to teach. Was there any teachers that inspired you?
I had a third grade teacher, Mr. Bernard. He was just like, so I was born in 94, so I was in third grade in like 2002, 2003. And like I didn't have a computer at home, and he had like a whole computer section in his room, and it was like this big deal. Like everyone was like, I hadn't seen a computer. Like most of us didn't have computers at home. He was very much like into technology and science. He like taught us all how to build a flashlight with masking tape and
Oh,
batteries and
okay.
wires. And he was just funny. Like he was animated and like easily relatable, I think, to like a third grade kid. Like you felt like this guy cared about you. He was probably like one of the most impactful teachers I've had.
Nice, nice. Yeah, in third grade, if I'm not mistaken, that's when you start learning fractions and multiplication and all
Yeah.
that fun stuff. So,
I mean, I think about it now. I don't know, like, because I teach high school, but like, do kids still do the like timetables? You have to like sit there and like, I
memorize
was
them.
just like so anxious about that. And like, a lot of my high schoolers like don't know their multiplication facts. I think because like at this point in their education, like if you don't know them, we just put them on your calculator. Like, we don't have time to teach you your multiplication facts, and you're just like, okay, well, you didn't learn them at whatever age you were supposed to learn them, and like in order to do bigger, better math, like I'd rather you use a calculator and get the right answer.
Well, I will say this, multiplication, which I did memorize them, actually impacts my day-to-day life,
Yeah,
where like I've never used algebra, full disclosure, in my adult life that I can recall. But multiplication, division, yeah, I use that quite a bit.
yeah. I
So
mean, like there's like, you know, kids are like the big questions, like when am I ever going to use this again, and like
yeah.
especially when they're learning about things in biology, or and it's like, you might not need the skill ever again, but you're gonna have to learn to do hard things, and like if that hard thing is like learning your multiplication facts, or like memorizing the parts of the cell, like you're practicing like pushing through hard things, and that's a skill that you will need for the rest of your life. And so like if they're not gonna grasp on to like, oh, I'm going to need all these like academic skills, like you will need the ability to like persevere when things are challenging. And I think that's something we try and like remind kids of.
I think that's a great point, though. But if you didn't teach those things, we wouldn't know who our mathematicians are. We wouldn't know who our scientists were. Like that's why kind of everybody, I do believe it's important that they learn it, because we need to, as going back to what does it mean to be an American. Sometimes we need to know who those people are going to be
Right.
that can master that. That's
Well,
like
like a
super
lot of
important.
times you like don't know if you don't like it. Like, I mean, like a lot of times, like I have kids going to college and they're like, I have no idea what I want to study. And you're like, okay, go in undecided and like take all these like electives and see what you like. I mean, that's an option that you can do. Um, and you could take like a very like a class that you weren't offered in high school and say like, oh, I really liked this. Like I got to take AP Psych in high school, and it was my first introduction to psych. I ended up majoring in it, and like I wouldn't have known that I liked that stuff if I didn't take the class. So
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think by college too, you do start to find what you're really passionate about, and you can focus in that.
yeah,
So now I want to know, because I met you through softball. You're a big softball player. Um, and you played in high school, but how'd you get into like the slow pitch adult crazy world that we're involved in?
it is wild. um, so I googled. I was living in Nashua at the time, I think, and I googled and I found MSS. Um, and like I'm thinking back, and I could be misremembering, but I'm pretty sure the first league I played in was a Saturday league at Trinity,
Okay.
like a summer Saturday league at Trinity. Obviously, they don't have those anymore, but I'm almost positive that's when we played. Um, and you just like, you meet a couple people, and as you know, like everyone's on so many different teams, knows so many different people, that you end up like building your community and your networking of softball people. And you end up playing on so many different teams and leagues and tournaments, and it's been so awesome.
Yeah, if you want to play softball in southern New Hampshire, there is plenty of places to go. You could probably
Yeah.
find a game pretty much every night, which is pretty cool. That's similar. Like I played in college, like the intramurals, and then the first
Yeah,
thing
I
I
did
found,
college too.
yeah, which was like that. I never had played slow pitch softball, played that, loved it, and when I graduated, we would play pickup a lot. But then I found I think I got invited to play in New Hampshire Sports and Social Club, which is now
Mm,
MSS, and it
yeah.
led to all this other stuff. Um, what are some of your favorite memories of playing?
It's a good one. I mean, I really like the Nashua pickups, like the Tuesdays and the Thursdays, and just like hanging out after work and like playing ball. Like that's like one of my favorite things. I don't have it out here, but I got a pumpkin last
Yeah,
year, and I was very proud of my pumpkin. I've super anxious when I joined softball. I didn't know anyone, like not a single person, um, and slowly over the years, I've become like much more confident in myself, and once I'm not as anxious up at the bat, I hit better and I feel better, and the more you play with the people that you love, like it's easier to just like sit back and relax and have fun.
yeah, absolutely. And I'll say for like slow pitch recreational softball, there are some nerves at times where sometimes I'm like, what are you nervous about? This is
Right.
not, like you're just out having fun with your friends. Like who cares,
Yeah.
But that could be tough. It's like we never lose it because I mean, you played high school sports, like you get those nerves, and it's just funny as an adult to still get those
Right.
at times.
Well, it's like not the only thing that you win, but it's much more fun when you win and like your team is doing well. You have a better experience. I think like the best times of softball are like when you can, have fun and not win, right? There's like those teams, those people that you can be around where like even if you're not winning, you're still having fun. Um, but in general, like winning is exciting.
Yeah, winning's always fun, but at the end of the day, like, I like to win, but I just like having fun with people. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's really what it is at the end of the day. Um, who are some of your favorite teammates, your favorite people to play with?
So I'll start with my Sunday team, like run by Sherman. The Bad News Beers, Chris Kelly's on that team.
Mm,
So Ryan, Megan Karen, Nick Jansen. I'm sure I'm forgetting people, but like that's a big crew. I've been part of that team for a while now. It's exciting. I usually play on their tournament teams. Um, just like a fun crew of people. The Batitudes making a comeback this year, like Leah, Andrew, Devin, Tiffany, Deesh, all fun people to play with. Um, and my Thursday team, I've been with for quite a while. I don't think anyone really travels over to Nashua, but Dan and CJ Hebert, Connor O'Brien, they're just like fun people. They were like the quintessential, like only play summer, spring softball. They're not like crazy and play all year round
yeah,
like the rest of us, but like fun people for sure. And like the Nashua, I think like just the people that show up in Nashua, whether you're playing with them or playing against them, like Mel, Linda, Ant, Ryan, Ronnie. I think like there's just like good people. Um, and it makes it a lot, makes it fun to be at the field all day if you want to be.
yeah, I agree. It's a really great community and a lot of great people. And you in Nashville, you dipped your toes into coaching. What was that
Yeah, I
experience
did.
like?
I did attempt that. It was exhausting. I think like I was like running a free agent team a little bit. It was like some returning, like half of a returning team. I think like it was the biggest challenge for me was like getting people to show up every week. I think it's hard when you have like a bunch of people that have never played together, or we had like a lot of people that were just like you know hadn't played in the league before, or maybe had played but like didn't have a team. And there was a lot of like, it was just hard to get people to show up every week. It was. I won't say I'll never do it again, but it was. It's a lot of like commitment to run a
Get
team,
people
and
there.
so I give it to you run the league, but like anyone that runs a team, I just think it's like good for you. I'll just play.
Well, I gotta say, me and Kevin and I should say really appreciate you doing that, because when the league was kind of not in a great place when we
Mm.
retook it over, and we really needed people to step up. So that was very appreciated that you were able to do that.
Yeah, and I met a lot of people that like still connected with. I think like I much prefer to play. I don't have necessarily the connections that I think a lot of people. I'm friendly with a lot of people. I think a lot of people know my name, know my face, but to build a team from scratch, I think I'll leave it up to somebody else.
Well, I want to get into these as well because you got quite a few fan questions, so we want to get these answered for the audience. First one's from Jessica Tobin, first time asking a question. If she was a croc jib, jib,
Gibbet, yeah,
gibbet,
yeah,
oh,
those little
little
things.
figurine things, what would she be and why?
Great question. So that's from Jess Tubin. That's my best friend.
Oh, okay.
I would put Pat Connolly's face on one because he hates Crocs almost as much as I love Crocs. He likes to give me a really hard time. So I think like if I was gonna be a Croc gibbet, it would be Pat Connolly
It would be
for
Pat
sure.
with the mustache and
Yeah,
yeah. Oh, that's a good answer. Yeah, I've never worn a pair, never bought a pair. I've seen
they're
them for
so
years.
comfy. I have winter Crocs and summer Crocs. Like you gotta like change them out with the seasons. It's like my brother says it's like a part of my personality, which like I actually don't hate. Like I just really love Crocs.
Yeah, my favorite thing about Crocs when Michael Scott got egg in his Crocs. You remember that episode where
Yes.
he woke up? He's like, I got egg in my Crocs. That got me pretty good.
And that
Daisy
was like
Rivera.
back.
Yeah,
No, I was just
go
gonna
ahead.
say that was back when like Crocs like were like not really like a thing. Like when I was growing up, like Crocs were like kind of like the uncool shoe, and then like I don't know, they've kind of made a comeback.
Yeah, they go back and forth. I mean, there's not a softball field where I don't see someone wearing them, to the
Yeah.
game or whatever. Um, Daisy Rivera has a couple questions. Sarah, what inspired you to be a teacher, specifically special ed math teacher? So we kind of covered that, but was there anything specifically for special ed math?
No, like math, I was kind of thrown into. I didn't have a choice, and I took it. Special ed, I think like I was also on a plan growing up. I have a speech impediment. That used to be like a really big deal for me. I've kind of just like as I've grown up realized that like people are either gonna like make fun of me or not, and like I'm just gonna not stick around with the people that are gonna make a big deal out of it. And as I've gotten older, I've gotten more just like comfortable with it. I don't. It doesn't bother me anymore. I think it used to bother me a lot. But I wanted to go into like a field that I could, relate to and like be
Mm,
relatable to the people that I'm, around all the time.
yeah, no, good answer. She asked how you got into softball, which we didn't really actually answer. How did you? Because you started playing as a kid. What got you into that?
I did like all the sports as a kid. Like I really wanted to do hockey, and my mom was like, "You can do learn to skate, and you can do everything up until they check." And then like she pulled us out. Like she didn't want any sports that like were contact sports for me and my brother. But I did soccer, I did dance, basketball. I was terrible at basketball. T-ball, like kind of my brother and I stuck with T-ball and baseball and softball all the way through. So yeah, it's just I was a catcher growing up. That was my position. So
Were your parents into it? Did they play softball and baseball or?
no, I mean my dad was he's a runner, so he's run the Boston
Oh, okay.
Marathon a couple
Oh, wow.
times. He's like living his best retired life. He like down in Florida. He rides his bike and runs every day. Just like, he loves it. My mom's not athletic, but I don't know. Me and my brother were, very competitive growing up and did all the sports.
Nice, nice. Now, she's got some very loaded questions here.
Yes.
These are tough that I don't even know if I can answer. What gives you fulfillment?
All right. So I think this is like a boring answer, but like being productive and feeling like I'm like achieving my goals, like gives me a lot of fulfillment. I am like a big goal driven person. Every year I like write myself goals for the year, and like instead of doing New Year's resolutions, I just say like I'm gonna achieve these like 5 or 6 things.
Okay.
And like being able to achieve goals that I set for myself, I think is really big. I just being productive, like, checking things off a list. I'm a big list maker, and like anytime I can check something off a list, just like kind of like scratches that itch. It's like, okay, that feels good.
Good answer. That's a tough question to answer. What brings you joy?
Joy, laughing with friends, just being able to like be myself. It's more so like the past couple years I've been like really focusing on like how can I bring joy to other people, and like, I think just being myself and, cracking jokes and making people laugh brings me joy. Yeah.
No, it's good. Good answer. Living your best life, essentially.
Yeah.
And last one, what brings you peace?
The beach. The beach brings
Ah,
me
I
peace.
can I
Like,
can get down with that.
I'm a big beach person. I'm not a morning person, and like I have a really hard time getting up in the morning. But last summer, I like took a few trips to Salisbury Beach for the sunrise. I had to be there at like 3:58 or something crazy, and like watching the sunrise at the beach when nobody's there was like the epitome of peace. It was just awesome.
Absolute zen.
Yes, it was awesome. And then you can spend like 6 hours at the beach and go home, and like you leave by lunchtime. Like it's just kind of like I can get down with that.
Do you have a favorite beach?
Yeah, Salisbury Beach.
Salisbury.
Yeah.
Nice. Is that like I'm not a huge vacation person, but like if you were to go on vacation, is that what you're looking for? Is like beaches and stuff like that?
Yeah, I'm kind of in between. Like, I'd love to take, like, I haven't been on a tropical vacation where, like, you just, like, go to an island and, like, you know, hang out at the beach. But I also love to explore things. I haven't left the United States. Um, so I haven't been able to travel a whole lot. I think, like, it would be hard for me to say, like, a dream vacation if I haven't done either the, like, touristy stuff or the beach things, but definitely is for like a summer day. As much as I can get to the beach, I can. I mean, it's still an hour drive, but try and go out as much as I can.
I'm with you. I went 3 or 4 times last year, which was like my record in the last like 20 years. So definitely
Yeah.
love the beach. Julia Lopez wants to know, what is something you would say to little you?
I would say like relax and trust the process. And like I'm a firm believer that like what will like if it's meant to happen, it'll happen, and it might not happen like when you want it to happen. But I think like, I try and put as much good out into the universe as possible, and like, hopefully that, gets returned to me. It so far it has. But I'm an anxious person. I was a very, very anxious kid. I worried about absolutely everything. I like funny side story, but like my parents had to tell me at a very, very young age that like Santa Claus was not real because I was like so worried about like this man sneaking into my house at night, and they were like, just like forget it. Like you don't
Yeah.
have to like don't even think about it anymore, because like I was just like, yeah, I was anxious, and like I'm definitely an anxious adult, but I've, you know, learning to cope with a lot of things, and you know, I would go back and tell myself to just like enjoy the process, like live it in the moment. Things will work out. Don't worry about it.
I think that's a really good thing to say. Like, when I got sober, like I learned how to live one day at a time. And that was like something I was never able to do. I was always thinking about, what about this? What about, I'm thinking 20 years from now. It's like, you don't even know if you're going to see 20 years from now. So
Right.
I think you're right. Living in the moment, enjoying things and being present is really can be life-changing, you know?
Yeah.
Amy Beach. Speaking of Beach, what a great last name. Is Amy a friend?
Yeah, that's actually her Facebook name, but she loves the
Oh,
beach.
okay. Got
She's
it.
my school librarian. So
Oh, okay. What book influenced you the most, and what was your favorite book when you were in middle school?
so we've talked a little bit about it, but like I was not a great student. I like never read books in middle school or high school. It just was like I'm gonna spark notes everything and like
Spark
I
Note.
don't know, just like
I
did
haven't
I like
heard that in years. Yeah.
yeah, like I haven't like I wasn't a big reader. I like went back as an adult and read all the books I was supposed to read in middle school and high school, and I think like To Kill a Mockingbird was up there. I really liked that one. What else did I go back and read? I liked Animal Farm. Um, but yeah, I did not read any books in middle school, so my apologies to the librarian on that one. I have a lot of favorite books. I'm a big historical fiction person. I
Mm.
run a historical fiction book club out of Manchester.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, and I am part of my school book club. But as far as like which book, I think the question was like influenced me the most. Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. McConaughey. I listened to it. He's narrated by him, and he's just like a funny guy. But he just talks about all these moments in his life where like he could either stop or keep going, and like he found all the green lights, all the reasons to like continue on the path. I highly recommend listening to it because it is narrated by him, and he like laughs at his own jokes a lot, and he like it's just a funny listen, but it's a good read. It has some like good information in it.
Yeah, no, and I will say, just if you ever have since you like historical fiction, um, it's like an elementary, middle school level book. But My Brother Sam is Dead. If you've ever read that, I read
I
that in
have
like
not.
sixth grade, and that book was, from what I remember, like absolutely like phenomenal. And the ending was like, so
I'm gonna add it to my Goodreads account.
yeah, and you'll probably finish it pretty quick as an adult, but it was a good read. Um, my guy Kendall Payne Glover, KPG, shout out Kendall. He has two questions. If you could relive one day exactly how it happened, which would it be and why? These are very like deep
These were tough.
questions.
I'm gonna answer that question, but with a caveat. So I was at the game for 2004 ALCS game,
Oh,
the Red Sox versus Yankees. I was 11, I think, and my
what a
dad
game
made
to
us
be
leave
at.
early.
Oh
Um,
no.
yeah. So we left when it was tied. I think it was like 11 o'clock at night or something on a school
Yeah.
night. And like we came home, we listened to it on the radio, obviously, and we heard that we won. We saw the steal, the Dave
Yeah.
Roberts steal. But like to this day, I'm like, it's like a once in a lifetime thing. Like, of course, like you have to put your 11-year-old to bed, but like I don't necessarily agree with that parenting strategy. I mean, he was also coming from like a Red Sox fan who hadn't won in 86 years, so it's like, what are the chances, right? But that's a cool game to be at.
That's incredible to be at that game. And in your dad's defense, they still had, four more games to win.
Right.
So who would have known how historical that game would have actually been? But you must have been like 9 or
I
10
think
at that point.
I was in 5th grade, so yeah. And we actually at the end of the season they make those like review. There was like a VHS, I think, or
Yeah,
DVD. It might have been a
maybe. Yeah.
DVD, and they make like a recap of the season. We were in that.
Oh,
Like,
really?
yeah, they pan around to like this lady behind us had this big like big poppy sign, and my dad and I were like seated right in front of her, so they like got the sign and could see us down there.
I
Pretty cool.
have that. Is it the Nesson one or the one MLB made?
I think it's the Nesson one.
Okay, I may have both. I definitely have the MLB one. I'll have to go take a look at that because
Yeah, you have to see me. I got my like I was a big tomboy growing up, so I had a backwoods hat on. But if
oh
you see the
wow.
big poppy sign on the third base side, yeah, we're right below that.
I'll have to look it up. I know I definitely have the MLB one. I know my dad has the Nesson one for
Hmm.
sure, but maybe I took it from him. I don't know. So let's see. Um, and who or what kept you going when you wanted to quit?
It's a good question. I mean, I have a very good, strong family support. I don't have any family in state anymore. My mom lives in North Carolina. My dad moved to Florida. My brother's still in Ohio. So I like have my family from afar, but I've built like a pretty strong support system with my friends here in New Hampshire and Massachusetts. And, I have people that I can turn to, you know, I, in any situation and get the support I need. I think like on top of that, I've become my own, biggest cheerleader. I've overcome quite a bit and being able to prove to myself that like, hey, you can do this because you've done, other hard things has been helpful. You don't always want to like look back on bad experiences or like tough experiences, but I think looking back and knowing I got through them, like was able to push through and become, come out the other end, I think has been helpful when I'm, you know, facing new challenges.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes like the older you get and the more experience you have in life, like things like roll off and you're like, all right, well, I got through that. I'll get through this,
Hmm.
like, um, no, great answer. And last question. This is a good way to end the show because I think this is a very good question. Sean Malak, I want to say.
Malik, yeah.
Malik, do you have a message for your friends and family? If so, what is it?
Yeah, I think it goes back, to just like to relax and trust the process. Like I think like eventually, like you'll get to where you're going, and like I don't believe in like any sort of like higher being, but I do like I kind of believe in the universe and like you trust that the universe is going to provide for you and that like you're doing what you need to do and like you have a mission on this planet and doing everything you can to meet that mission and throughout it is going to be like bumps and things that are difficult. I think like a big thing for me is like I when I lost a lot of weight, I was like really really focused on like like I want to look different and that was a big thing for me and like at the end of the day like I just want to feel better and I feel a lot better. Like losing the weight was important to me to be healthier. I mean, originally it was more of just like I wasn't happy with my body and like when you're on the other side of it, I'm looking back and saying like, okay, like that was part of it, but I also like can do a lot more now and I like have a lot more confidence and I can, do things like go to boxing and go to the gym and play more softball and I just needed to like trust myself and that I would get there and I did what I needed to do and it's not always easy to just like think about the future as like a wait and see, but it is kind of thing.
Yeah, we don't know what tomorrow will bring.
Yeah.
But I will say health is wealth, and that's what I've been told. So it's always important, whatever we can do to
Yeah.
be as healthy as we can be. Um, but Sarah, this has been an absolute blast. I really appreciate you coming on the show tonight. We'll have to do this again sometime.
Sure.
But any
Thanks,
any
man.
final thoughts?
No, I mean I really appreciate it. Like we said at the beginning, like I have been watching your episodes. I think like it's cool to learn about my friends. There's a lot of things that you don't know just from seeing somebody at the field. So it's a cool platform that you have. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you. Well, like I said, we'll have to have you again back sometime. But everybody out there, have a great week. Survive the snow, and until next time, let freedom ring.